Hey guys, welcome back to another video. It's been a very long time since I have done a class setup video, but I thought it would be nice right now after some updates and the Season 3 Reloaded update, and also Rebirth Island being back, to go through some of the classes that I'm using. These are the top 3 classes in my opinion at the moment if you really want to do well. A lot of these are really made for solos, but they do work in all squad sizes. There's a few weapons at the moment that do shine above the rest, and the meta is very weird and very inconsistent at the moment. I would say that it's probably one of the worst states in terms of weapons that Warzone has had. Not in terms of balance, just that nothing feels very fun to use and nothing feels very good. So we'll see what they do. They've been doing a lot of nerfs lately, but there's still some weapons that I feel like you can get a lot of success using. So to quickly talk about some perks, this is the perk setup that I pretty consistently run. Sleight of hand and double time. Double time I think is a pretty much must have. Sleight of hand I prefer over Mountaineer just because I get caught reloading often, and sleight of hand for me is just something that is ingrained in my brain. I often go with Tracker. Tracker I think is the best perk here. It is super underrated because you just get a lot of information that you otherwise don't have. You can see people in windows much easier because of the pink footsteps, and that is a really underrated feature of Tracker. Also, if you do lose someone and they go and hide in a corner, you know exactly where they are. They can't get away from you in that situation. And then Flex for me, I love the delay of the triggered explosives. This means that you can really push campers, riot shielders, things like that without really worrying about their proximity mines or claymores or whatever. And also that reduced combat noise is absolutely clutch. You can hear footsteps much easier. So getting into the weapons right now, on each of these 3 classes I've got a long and a short range option, and you can mix and match with whatever you want, and I'm also going to go through a couple of bonus weapons that you can add into the mix as well. But right now, the SOA Subverter, even though this thing was nerfed, I am not seeing a lot of people use this thing, but True Game data still shows that this thing right here has the best long-range TTK out of absolutely everything, and damn, it does certainly feel that way. This thing is still an absolute monster in ranked. It's got amazing recoil. It's got fantastic bullet velocity. Even using the compensated flash hider here, you still get 808 meters per second. If you wanted to check out the recoil with the Spirit Fire, you could chuck this on and it goes up to 914. You also get that effective damage range boost as well. But this thing right here, amazing recoil, great reload speed, 50 round mag. With the Bruin heavy support, you lose a lot of visual recoil, and this thing just absolutely obliterates. And I'm pairing this up with the WSP9. I think this is the best SMG at the moment. The Striker is obviously up there as well, and we'll talk about that in the next loadout. But this thing right here, it hits like a truck. It's got great movement speed. They massively buffed the sprinter fire speed in the last update, and that was a major setback for this gun because of the open bolt delay. But you can see now it's got 52 millisecond sprinter fire, which is basically nothing. It is pretty much instant. Overall, really good movement speed and a slower fire rate. I really love to go with the classic factory stock here because of the help to gun kick control and recoil. This thing has a weird funny kick, but with this stock right here, you basically eliminate all of that. And then also going with the Kimura laser here, just because you get that extra ADS sprinter fire and also some steadiness as well. You can definitely get rid of this if you wanted and go with the short barrel. I think the short barrel is also fantastic to help with that movement speed, but you do have a penalty to recoil. It's completely up to you. But that's my first class right there. So moving into the next loadout, and it is the DG58 LSW. This thing is absolutely ridiculous at the moment. It has basically no recoil. It's got amazing bullet velocity and damage range with this build. Going with the Spirit Fire here because I feel like the recoil is very manageable, and you can see here the bullet velocity is absolutely fantastic. Also, a lot of recoil reduction attachments here with the butt plate and also the Woody long barrel here, which helps bullet velocity as well. You could definitely opt to get rid of the Bruin heavy support and chuck on the high grain rounds if you wanted to. You can see this thing is just an absolute beam. There is basically no recoil at all. You are just lasering people from across the map. So this thing is absolutely amazing. Now, just a quick thing right here with the DG. If you do have this blueprint right here, this blueprint is pretty much see-through. And as you can see here, you can go with the iron sights, and this thing is pretty silly. Just because you can see exactly through all the iron sights. It is pretty amazing, and it does give you that extra attachment because you have the iron sight. So in this situation here, I've gone with a high grain, and I've also gone with the Cassis brake just because it helps with horizontal, but it also feels like it removes a lot of the visual shake. So if you do have this blueprint here, this is definitely pay to win. And then backing this up with the Striker SMG, the Striker 9 is definitely one of the top meta SMGs right here. This thing has amazing movement speed, and I opt to go here with the Chook angled grip. This is probably the main difference between a lot of builds that I see, just because this allows you to have massive ADS movement speed improvements and have a lot of strafe speed. Also going with the Lockman light stock to help with that as well. So this thing right here is absolutely ridiculous. And the last class here is the SVA 545. This is the first assault rifle in the mix, and this thing is fantastic because it just has basically no recoil. A lot of people opt to go with the burst here. It does have the hyper burst, and if you were running with the hyper burst, I would drop the heavy support grip and chuck on the high grain rounds, just because the high grain rounds do give you that further bullet velocity and damage range, and you do lose a lot of the recoil. I prefer to go with this in full auto just because this thing does feel really chunky and really nice. I love the fact that this thing has basically no recoil, and it feels insane up close as well. So that is another massive benefit of this thing. It also has 60 round mag, so you know you do get that ability to finish those downs or get those multiple knocks. And then going with the AR-MCW hybrid here. This thing is the SMG build with the Jack Raven kit. This thing has amazing damage up close and also has incredible mobility and handling. Going with the Zem here to help with that vertical recoil control and horizontal recoil. You also get the limited pings. I do prefer a sight, but if you were comfortable with the iron sights, I would definitely chuck on some of the rounds here to help out with some bullet velocity, or even go with a laser to help with more ADS and sprinter fire speed. Going with the Chook here, as I mentioned before, this gives amazing ADS movement speed and also benefits to movement as well. As you can see here, with that 5.3, this is one of the fastest weapons that we've got available right now, and this thing absolutely melts. It just feels so nice at the moment, and it really does feel very competitive with the SMGs. So this thing definitely up there in top meta. So some quick interesting ones is the WSP Stinger. This thing is very niche for solos just because this is akimbo and has the 32 round mag. I did a video on this recently, and these absolutely destroy. This is a hipfire build, so all of these attachments here are to help the hipfire. And this thing is very nice. It definitely does surprise people as you come up really nice and close to them. You need to barrel stuff with this, otherwise you're not going to be very successful, so that is probably one of the downsides, but it is an extremely fun weapon to use. Another super underrated weapon is the brand new FJX Horus. I don't see many people using this thing at all, but this has got amazing movement speed, and you also get a fantastic time to kill if you do get one headshot. So that is extremely important. You can see here 5.1 movement speed. It's got really reasonable damage range to about 8 meters, and you do get good recoil control with this build right here. I also see that it's got a super nice ADS and sprinter fire, so a lot of people just not really using this. I do think the iron sights are really average, which is why you do have to go with the MK reflector in my opinion. But this thing does melt. It is absolutely ridiculous up close, so definitely worth a look if you haven't used this already. And another AR that is an SMG here is the BP50, and the BP50 is very viable in all situations. Long range with its normal build, and also mid-range. Sniper support's perfect as well. This is the way I like to use it, and that is this Jack Revenger kit right here. This does actually give you 60 rounds, which is fantastic. Movement speed is great, recoil control is great. It does limit a lot of your attachments, which is why I built it out here using the iron sights and maxing ADS and movement speed. Going with the gun kick recoil control build here for the rear grip, just to help out with any of that bounce. And you also get high grain rounds on here because it does max that effective damage range out to 14 meters. This thing is absolutely ridiculous. Definitely worth a look as well. And finally, another long-range option is the MTZ 556. This is another gun I don't see too many people using, but this thing feels really nice, and it hits like a truck with this build, up to about 45 meters in damage range, which is absolutely amazing. Even though it's got a little bit of a slower ADS, the thing hits like a truck, and you can see here with the Spirit Fire Suppressor and this barrel, you get up to about 45 meters and 61 meters in minimum damage range. The bullet velocity is really nice, and the recoil control is fantastic. I go with the Bruin rear grip here rather than the Bruin heavy support grip. I feel like you just get a much better overall recoil control with it. So this is definitely worth a look as well. So there you have it, guys. That's the loadouts I'm running at the moment. There's lots of different things that I feel like could be adjusted and buffed to make even better. I would love to see some of the MW2 weapons make a bit of a return. It's a shame that they've got those all in the game, but they're just kind of sitting there idly by, not being used. If this video was helpful at all, please leave a like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. And leave a comment as well telling me what other guns I should check out. Thanks for watching, guys.